Hi, kids. Mrs. B here, obviously. I don't know how to get rid of this. There we go. Okay. Um, so I just wanted to give you a bit of an update of kind of what is to come for the rest of this week. So first off, I hope you're doing okay. I miss you guys so much. I'm going crazy. I miss my classroom, and this is my home. And I'm also trying to teach my son at the same time, which is cool. So I hope you're doing okay, and feel free to contact me at any point in time on Microsoft Teams, which I'll get into a few more details right away, or through email or the Google Classroom. Okay. So some new school information for you. So the diploma exams have been canceled, like I mentioned a week and a half ago. The days are all kind of blurring together, but you are still receiving a mark in June based on the assessments that we give you throughout the next couple months. We still don't know when school will be back, so I have no answers on that. I wish I did. I'm sorry. But you do still need to complete the work that's given to you. So assessment's kind of going to vary at this point in time. It could be like a worksheet. It could be like a group discussion. It could be like an assignment, like an essay or things like that. So just keep that in mind. Second, the school is currently closed to all students. So if you require something, if you did not go in during the last week or so, then you have to call the office to make an appointment, okay? Many of the teachers are now working from home. We've been directed by the government and from ECSD to do this. So for the most part, I will be at home sending you these videos and contacting you. We are to be available from 8:30 until 3 every day. So you can contact me during that time. Once the schedule goes out, we'll let you know. Okay. Okay. Next. So I started something called, I'm going to call it Rack Your Brain. Okay. And it's going to stand for watch, read, attend, complete, and know. So I'll post these every Monday for as long as this continues, and it'll give you information on what you need to complete for the week. Okay. So for today, for this week, you're watching the weekly update. You're going to complete the podcast and respond to the questions if you haven't already. And then I want you to watch two videos. One, the Indian Act Explained, and I give you the link here, but it'll also be in the PowerPoint that I will post, as well as a crash course in history on terrorism, war, and George Bush. If you haven't already read the Chapter 9 PowerPoint notes, please do that, and you can read in the textbook. We will likely have a webinar on April 2nd. Now, this date could change dependent on what the school decides. So just make sure you have access to the Google Classroom and you can see all of that. Please make sure you have Microsoft Teams downloaded on whatever device you're using. So that could be your phone or your iPad or your computer or your parents' computer, whatever. You need to have Microsoft Teams. All of you have been added to the Social 30-1 Teams. So we will be using our webinars through that. We're not supposed to be using Zoom. So, or at least as much as possible, we're supposed to be using Microsoft Teams. So it's pretty easy to use once you have it, and I can help you navigate it a bit. What do you need to complete this week? There's one section in your textbook on Haiti on pages 326 to 327. And then I want you to complete Why Can Liberalism Fail? And that's on a Google Doc. I'm going to post it in the Google Classroom. I found out how you can make like a copy for everybody in your class. And so all you have to do is you click on it and you start typing and then you hit submit. So it's pretty easy. And then by the end of the week, there are 4 things that you should know. So how does assimilation connect to liberalism? What do the white paper and the red papers do? That's in the notes. Why do countries impose liberalism, and why would liberalism fail? Okay. First things first, I'm going to go through the PowerPoint quickly, and I'll focus on some key points I want you to examine. Make sure you have that PowerPoint, and I'm posting a new one from what had previously been posted because I've made some changes based on what's happened, okay? I am going to place a star on important things within the PowerPoint, and so you can see that, okay? So the viability of liberalism. Most of this is just kind of basic information to go through it, an introduction. Normally we'd have more of a discussion. So one of the things that we want you to look at is if liberalism is to remain a viable ideology, it basically has to be utilitarian. So it has to provide a solution to a range of contemporary issues, which is really what's going on right now. So if liberalism stops helping people, then why are we still using it? So right now, there's been a ton of different issues within our country and the world on national security. and on privacy and things like that. And so the question is like, if liberalism, if the way that we run a liberal democracy is no longer working, then at what point do we shift into more of essentially a dictatorship of the government being able to monitor what we're doing all of the time? Okay. Okay, so you should know these key terms: assimilation, humanitarianism, Indian Act. You would have heard those terms in other social classes before. This is just talking about Canada's UN report. So assimilation here is important. I don't know why. Okay, there we go. Assimilation was the idea that Indigenous people would give up their own ideologies and adopt liberalism. Now, this also applies to internationalism today. And so this is a key point because Western nations have tried to spread liberal democracy around the world by saying that, hey, we're the best and this is the best way to do it. But then you're forcing other countries to take that opinion. And is that okay? You can read that. You already know about the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, which I never say properly. This is an important thing just to read on about the conflict between Canadians and Aboriginals. Okay, enfranchisement. So this is something that we would have had more of a discussion on in class. So basically the idea that this was an attempt to assimilate the First Nations. So essentially, if you gave up your official status, you got something in return, and you receive your share of treaty settlements and things like that. But it meant you had to give up kind of who you were as an individual. And so it was passed in 1857, and it was not successful, but it's one way that the Canadian government tried to assimilate. The Indian Act, another important thing, which you've probably remember learning about, so make sure you review this. Okay, the white paper and the red paper. So we would have spent more time on this in class. So the white paper, Pierre Trudeau wanted all citizens to be Canadian. So he wanted to try and assimilate all First Nations into mainstream society. And this is through the white paper. And it was to abolish treaties, the Department of Indian Affairs, basically anything that kept First Nations people distinct from the rest of Canada, which is not good because you're basically eliminating all of those things that make us a multicultural country. He also never consulted the First Nations people on it. And so it was just an attempt at assimilation. So the red paper was published in response, and they basically outlined everything that they disagreed with within the government's policy changes, especially because they had not been consulted on anything. So there's some more details there on page 311 that I mentioned. And then the federal government withdrew the white paper, but basically just completely eliminated any First Nations issues with that. This Niska final agreement is important because it discusses land claims, which is something that is still ongoing in Canada today with like the pipelines, for example. We'll skim over that. Okay, so the skill path, this is important, but I would normally make you complete it. You don't have to complete it today. Instead, I want you to focus on that Haiti thing. But it is interesting information. So if you want to complete it, you can, but it's not a requirement or anything like that. Keep going. Okay, so imposing liberalism for self-interest. This connects to the assignment that you're going to have to do. So we're pretty familiar with these ideals, like the war on terror, Afghanistan, Iraq, the Cold War, things like that. Now, if a country embraces liberalism, it's less likely to threaten the security of other liberal democracies. Okay, but you have to keep that in mind that it's liberal democracies, not all nations. So if you look at the United States, for example, although they are considered a liberal democracy, they still do at times threaten the security of other nations. Okay, and Haiti, this is important. I want you to make sure you can answer this. It's not going to be handed in, but it's just important information to have. And why can liberalism fail? So this is what that assignment is going to be on. So liberal democracies have difficulty surviving in conditions like unemployment, inflation, and civil unrest. Now, a lot has happened in the last few weeks that has threatened liberal democracy around the world because of what's happened. Like so many people are out of jobs and so many people don't have access to what they normally do. And so it's created issues. And so how can liberal democracy still survive within this? And you can see it within what the Trudeau government has been doing. So these are the three things I want you to watch or listen to. I think most of you have done the podcast, but just it's interesting information. And then these two videos. Okay, so the question that I want you to complete is why can liberalism fail? So I give base information set out on the Google Classroom. It's a different assignment. Everybody has their own. You just type and then you hit submit and it'll name it for me. And then I can make comments on it and send it back to you. It needs to be handed in by April 3rd. And it's basically just a written response based on what you've kind of learned this week on liberalism. So bring in current events, bring in anything that you've learned, and it'll be helpful. Okay. On Thursday, hopefully, we will be having a webinar. This might change. I'm not exactly sure how all of the schedule will be working for classes with AOB, so just keep that in mind that things might change. If it is, I'll update you as soon as possible, and then we'll know kind of going on. But it will be through Microsoft Teams, so please make sure you have that app downloaded on your device, and that way you can participate, okay? As well, you can access me on Microsoft Teams the whole day from 8:30 until 3. You can send me a message and ask any questions that you have. It's super easy and it's basically like a chat, okay? But a lot of the reason for this is because then the district has a record of everything that's being done. Okay, and that's pretty much it. So if you have any questions, you can email me. You can message me on Teams. Complete the work necessary. You will get assessed in June. You have to have a mark completed in June that I will give you. So even though there's no diploma exams, I still assess you, so you can still fail. And I don't want anyone to fail, okay? So you need to make sure you complete those assignments. So the only thing this week for marks is that why can liberalism fail Google Doc to be completed, okay? If I know any more information about anything, I will let you know. I will update you as soon as possible. And I just hope you're all doing well. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this is how things are going right now. And I wish it wasn't, because I know that it's hard and you're in grade 12 but it is what it is and we'll figure it out. And I have faith in you guys to be malleable and to adjust and we'll do it. And I can still contact you and you can even call me on Teams and if you want to have a chat kind of thing. So please just know that I'm praying for you and I'm thinking about you guys all the time. And I just hope you're doing well. And we'll talk to you soon. Okay.